Our Own Voice is brought to you by NAMI. If you would like to learn more about the National Alliance on Mental Illness, the programs we offer, or get involved, please visit NAMI.org.
Welcome to Our Own Voice, a partnership in mental health awareness in cooperation with NAMI Wichita and KSUN Community Radio. NAMI is the National Alliance on Mental Illness. We're the largest grassroots advocacy network for people with mental illness and their family members, with over 800 national affiliates and 15 Kansas affiliates, with NAMI Wichita being one of those 15. We provide awareness, support, education, and advocacy for people affected by mental illness. Our purpose here is to provide a community conversation on KSUN Radio that gives insight into what it's like to live with mental illness. Our intention and hope is that our program will change attitudes, assumptions, stereotypes, and about people with mental health conditions. And in so doing, we will stop the stigma associated with mental illness. My name is David E. Larson. I am so very pleased and proud to be your host today, and I am a person who lives with mental illness. I am in recovery for major depressive disorder. Like everyone, I struggle with the ups and downs and the challenges of being fully human, but I am doing great. And I know I have many gifts to offer my family, my friends, and my community. Now, before I get too far into the program, I want to offer a big thank you to our production team, to David Peterson, our executive producer. Hello, David.
Hello, David.
And Mike Padilla, our technical producer. Hello, Mike.
Hello.
And so thank you for being here and joining us today to meet our guest. And we actually have 3 guests today.
Is this not the most we've ever had?
Yes,
it is. Is it?
It is.
Really?
It is my...
I'd tell them to stand up and applaud themselves, but there's no room.
It is my pleasure to introduce our guests, Deputy Posh, Deputy Greshem, and Deputy Narvais. Did I say all that right?
100%. Yes, it did.
Awesome. All right. Well, everyone say hello to the listening audience.
Hello.
Hello. Hello.
So let's start out with, where did everyone grow up? Okay, Deputy Greshem, it's your turn.
All right, that's me, I guess.
Yep.
All right, so I grew up outside of Wichita, a small town outside of Wichita.
All right.
You can name the small town. Come on.
In Augusta.
Oh, in Augusta.
In
Okay.
Augusta.
You're an Oriole.
See, I was thinking Rose Hill.
So,
For all I knew.
So David said the mascot. What is the mascot?
The Orioles.
The Orioles. Okay. And Narvais, where did you grow up?
I grew up in a small town of western Nebraska by the name of Morrill, Nebraska.
Really, Nebraska? Well, I won't hold that against you because I did live in Iowa for a time, so don't hold that against me.
Fair
all
enough.
right? Fair enough. Okay. And Deputy Posh.
I grew up out by Cheney Lake, about a mile away from Cheney Lake.
Okay.
So you're a Cardinal?
Not a Cardinal.
he did go to Cheney High School.
No, not a Cardinal. I was an Indian out there.
Oh, an Indian. Oh.
Okay.
So that's
Fair
the
enough.
mascot of that high school then?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So now comes the other question, and why is it that I have 3 deputies sitting in our recording studio?
They're getting ready to tell you.
because they Narvais, you can lead us in this. You are a CIT officer, correct?
Yes, sir. I am the current HC coordinator for the Sedgwick County CIT. I'm also the current president of Sedgwick County CIT. We have Mrs. Greshem, who is our training coordinator, and Mr. Posch is one of our more successful graduates of the program.
And
so
CIT stands for Cows in Trauma?
No.
What does it stand for?
Crisis Intervention Team Training.
Oh, see how somebody could easily have been confused?
Only you, Mike, could be confused.
No. Our listening audience sometimes a little slow in the uptake there.
No, not true. I don't believe that.
You don't?
I believe you are, but not
Okay,
the
all right, I'll take that.
So what does CIT do?
CIT is a way that we have gotten together and we've decided to present information to train officers how to deal with people in emotional or behavioral crisis. One of the things we started realizing as we started going through our careers is that sometimes we catch people on some of their worst days, and whatever the reason is that put them there, it's our job to be the consummate professionals and to present ourselves in that same professional manner, model the behavior we expect, which is calmness and logic, and try to help them transition through some of the most difficult times in their lives. So we train officers how to deal with that and how to put that best foot forward, if you will, because we're always hoping for the best outcomes. So no matter the training or the experience, sometimes we don't get them, but we do everything we can to ensure that does occur.
Okay, that's good because, and you said the logical mind, that goes back to one of our previous interviews when we were talking with someone who was sharing with us about borderline personality disorder, and the fact that we have two minds. We have the emotional mind and we have the logical mind. And when we are going in crisis, sometimes the logical mind doesn't take over, and the emotional mind does. And so we have to break that cycle. We have to go into what's called the wise mind, which is combining both of those. So just a little added thing for us. So, all right. Well, what else can I ask you?
What I was wanting to say is that if I come in contact with somebody that I don't like or that I'm getting a bad vibe from, whatever, it's easy for me just to walk away. They can't.
That's right. That's right. Well, now I have to go to a break. This is Our Own Voice on KSN Community Radio, and we will be right back with Deputy Narvais, Deputy Greshem, and Deputy Posh. Welcome back to Our Own Voice, a partnership in mental health awareness in cooperation with NAMI Wichita and KSN Community Radio. NAMI is a national alliance on mental illness. Our Own Voice is intended to humanize a misunderstood, highly stigmatized topic of mental illness by showing that it's possible and common to live well with a mental health condition. Now, during the break, we were talking about what else to talk about. And one of those things is, where did you guys encounter NAMI? So Deputy Posh, I'm still going to try to say officer. Deputy Posh, where did you encounter NAMI?
My first encounter was with going through the CIT training. We met with them out there. They came out and helped us teach the class, helped us learn. So
okay. All right. And Officer, I did it again. Deputy Narvais.
When I became involved in CIT training as well, came in contact with NAMI affiliates and friends and family members, and started realizing what an important role they played in helping the officers learn how to manage some of these crises. So that was useful.
Okay, and Deputy Greshem, I got it right that time.
That's right. Mine as well. It was during the CIT training when I started back in 2009.
Okay, and I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Right. Since then, I've gone out to some of the NAMI walks up in Topeka. We've done that, and then we've also worked with the Candlelight Visual with NAMI. We've gone to some of the area meetings. I've done also some presentations for NAMI about, in particular, the jail and the things that we do there. So.
Okay, awesome. So do any of you have either a close relationship with someone who has a mental health issue, or have had a close relationship, or a family member or anything like that?
Yeah, I do. I have a relative of mine who has severe mental retardation. So even growing up, I realized some of the issues that might cause trigger, if you will, something that would cause a violent behavior, as opposed to just the general placid and calm experiences we usually had. If you did certain things, touched his belongings or moved things a certain way, it may upset or anger him to the point where he may actually physically engage. So pretty quickly I learned that there was a way to manage things and still be effective in communicating, if not playing with them, because this was when I was 12 to 14, 15 years old.
Okay, so that was rather young.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, you also mentioned something about high school. You want to share that?
Yeah, when I was in high school, I became aware of friends, not only in my high school but other high schools, what I thought was, outrageous behavior or people just going for it. Some of those issues were things that I found out later on in life. Well, I had a mental illness back then and I wasn't being treated, or I had difficulties and I didn't realize it till I went to college and saw a therapist. So it's kind of interesting to realize that we had contact. We just kind of wrote it off, if you will, to that go for it, that wild card kind of behavior.
Right.
Only to realize that some of those things were, again, unusual behaviors that were brought on by something in their mind that caused them to think that things were different than they actually were.
Okay. Deputy Greshem, did you have anyone in your family, or did you have a close connection with anyone?
Yes, I have a family member that is recovering from bipolar, and I also have a few family members that have completed suicide. Also, I have friends as well that battle depression. So.
Okay, so you're very well understanding of what's going on. Deputy Posh.
Well, my mother, she teaches at Northwest with the mental health students that are out there. So I've been in and out of all the little field trips and everything that they have for pretty much my whole life since she's been out there. And then I deal with a lot of them inside the jail as well. So anybody that comes in and out that needs mental health treatment or care, that's what we do to provide.
Can you share with us more about what happens? There's a special mental health pod in the jail, isn't there?
Yes, there is.
Can you explain to us what that is?
Well, it's our mental health pod. It's where we go to where we can kind of separate them from the general population because they either need more assistance or they're prone to getting picked on or taken advantage of. So we have a full mental health team that works there with us, as we have 2 deputies that work that pod. So we try to be out among them and help them any way we can.
Okay. All right. So are you notified when someone comes in that they may have a mental health issue, or is this just from them being in the general populace that you realize this?
We've worked with a lot of these individuals. A lot of them are repeat offenders, so they'll come in quite often. So we will know. They will call us that work down there. We also work the booking area where they come in. We also have a CIT deputy usually down there. So we'll usually catch them when they first come in. We know the signs. We can usually find them and get them the help that they need as soon as we get in there.
Okay, so that's an interesting issue is the repeat offender and how many repeat offenders tend to be from mental health conditions and how many are just, something else that happens. Any statistics on that by any chance?
As far as the repeat offenders, I don't have the exact statistics with us right now, but that was one of the reasons why the mental health pod was created, was so that we can assist those people through their legal process, through their legal journey that they go through when they do come into the facility.
All right. So. Well, this is Our Own Voice on KSN Community Radio, and we will be right back after this break. This is Our Own Voice on KSN Community Radio. Welcome back. We are a partnership in mental health awareness in cooperation with NAMI Wichita and KSN Community Radio. NAMI is a National Alliance on Mental Illness. So, I want to broach a subject that is popular with the NAMI-ites, I guess, and that is the subject of stigma. And I pointed out during the break that you folks live with stigma. So help me understand what stigma you have. Deputy Greshem?
Well, as far as being in law enforcement, the media hasn't put us in a very good light lately.
Yeah.
For a while, I guess now.
Very true.
Yeah. So, it's sometimes when you're asked, so what do you do for a living? And I work at the jail. I work at the detention facility. And I'm like, what? Why would you ever do that? And then it just becomes a circle of, oh, that's horrible.
Yeah.
But that and just overcoming, hey, we are all people just like everybody else. We've got families at home. We've got friends. We still have to be able to decompress and de-escalate ourselves sometimes, and to move forward with what we're trying to do.
Okay, well, you just brought up something else, and that is, what are some of your hobbies?
Oh, okay. I like to garden.
Do you?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, I do. Although I do not like the mosquitoes that were in my garden this last weekend.
Fair
I'm sure
enough.
the rain had something to do with that.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I do like to, and I like to read as well.
Okay.
So spending time with my family.
What kind of reading do you do?
Oh, just whatever. Yeah.
Whatever?
Yeah. Yep. I like all
Fantasy,
kinds of-
science fiction,
Sure.
or
Yeah,
okay.
I like all of it. I like all of it. It's all right.
Awesome. You're a fantasy science fiction
Sure.
geek like me.
Menus?
Great.
Just gonna read anything.
Well, hey, I like reading menus. Why not?
Well, yes.
Especially when I'm ordering food.
Of course.
So, Deputy Posh, how about you? Can you share with us your own stigma that you've experienced?
I mean, she pretty much nailed it right on the head.
Yeah.
We get a lot of people that don't really like what we do. They don't understand what we do. So when we tell them that we work at the jail, they're just like, why would you ever do that? That's the worst people you could ever imagine. Why would you voluntarily go there every day? But, I mean, we enjoy it. We like to make a difference. We can make a huge difference there. So, I mean...
So something else to add on that, and we know that not everybody that comes into the facility are bad people. They might have, they just made a wrong choice, wrong decision. Sometimes that's what happens. So, we have both ends of that, and we see that and we understand that.
That is a key point. They're not all bad people. They've just made bad choices.
Yes.
And that leads us into the mental illness now. What stigma do you see within mental illness that we need to somehow rise above, and how can we do that? I know that's a stumper for some
Yeah.
people.
Well,
Just because somebody has a mental illness doesn't mean that they are not smart. Because I've come across a lot of individuals that have a diagnosis and they are brilliant of mind. And so I'm just like amazed by some of the things that or the interactions that I've had with individuals
all of
that have those.
all of the comic book villains are geniuses, right?
Yeah, of course.
Are you saying comic book villains have a mental health issue?
That's my opinion.
Okay, fair enough. I won't argue that because I don't know. So I'm not a villain. So
Thankfully.
So just understanding that and having an open mind whenever you're communicating with somebody, and that's with anybody in general. Just having that open mind and being able to listen and actively listen to what they're being told or what they're saying to you, so that you can actually get to the root of what's going on. I think that helps with eliminating some of that stigma.
okay,
Just being able to listen and actually hear what they're saying.
okay. Deputy Narvais, can you add anything to that?
Yeah, one of the things with stigma that we want to be most aware of is oftentimes when we're called to a circumstance, detention or on the patrol side, the situation is already very chaotic. And even if somebody has a mental illness, our entire job there is to provide a measure of safety, which in some circumstances, if we deem that the circumstance is unsafe, we may do things like Mr. Posch pointed out. People just don't understand. We have to promote safety first and foremost, which means that people are running, moving, they're close to cars, they're in traffic, they're hurting other people. We may have to directly engage that, which is something that I think the average citizen may not realize. Because the thing that we have to be aware of is anywhere from 20 to 25% of the population has a mental illness. That would include law enforcement. So by destigmatizing mental illness for the general population, we also work to destigmatize that for law enforcement as well. Because law enforcement themselves, at this point, we are on par to lose about 140 to 150 officers a year to line of duty deaths, which is a tragic number by any stretch of the imagination.
Wow.
But the other circumstance is we will lose more officers to officer suicides than we do to line of duty deaths. We're literally more dangerous by our own hand than anything else. So by destigmatizing mental health issues and treatment issues, we hope to help not only the citizens, but also law enforcement, because ultimately we want to give you the best professional law enforcement available.
That is a key point. Yes.
I'd like to say out a number here, and we can get back
Yes.
to it, and that is 316-686-1373, 316-686-1373, and I'll tell you more on the flip side.
Okay. So this is Our Own Voice on KSN Community Radio, and we are going to take a quick break, and we will be right back. Welcome back to Our Own Voice, a partnership in mental health awareness in cooperation with NAMI Wichita and KSN Community Radio. NAMI is a national alliance on mental illness. Now, David, before the break, you gave us that wonderful number. That's our information number. So can you go ahead and give us that number again and share it with the listening group, what that number does?
Yes, I will, but first I want to acknowledge the beautiful music we hear on the intros and the exits. Was composed by our David Larson.
Thank you.
And I also want to acknowledge and thank all the officers here. And it's, you guys have
Deputies.
The deputies.
All the deputies.
We already went through that.
I wasn't listening.
We know. Yeah, we know.
But if you call 316-686-1373, we'll give you information. Like David said, it's an information line. If you have a crisis or an emergency, call the crisis center or call 911.
It's as simple as see something, do something.
That's right.
Okay. Well, now, during the break, we were talking about something, and Deputy Narvais and Deputy Greshem sort of discussed something, and so Deputy Greshem, I'm going to leave it in your hands, and you share with us what you were talking about.
All right, so if you do have to call law enforcement out to your home or to anywhere you're at, and you call them because somebody is in a mental health crisis, then you can request a CIT officer to come to the scene. So when you talk to dispatch, just say, my family member is going to need a CIT officer if there's one available. It would probably help us out. And so with letting the dispatch know that, then if there's one available or in the area, they'll go ahead and dispatch them to the scene. Excellent.
Okay. And what happens when someone is taken into the jail?
When they come in the facility, we actually have questions we ask them. The arresting officer asks them questions as well, and then once they get inside the jail, the processing deputies will do the same thing. So we'll ask medical questions, but if you are finding yourself in the jail, you can let us know that you may have a diagnosis or that you take medication for something. And if you request a CID deputy in the jail, we can do that for you there as well.
Okay.
So, and like I said, Posh had mentioned that earlier, that we actually have deputies usually that work down there. If not, there's usually one pretty close. Almost all of our supervisors are also trained in CIT as well. So, and a lot of the corporals that are assigned to booking area, several of them have the CIT.
So do you think if a person did that might diffuse the situation a little bit?
Yeah, I know. Just as an example, I had an individual come in a couple weeks ago, and they told me that they suffer from schizophrenia, and I said, okay, so to help you with this stay, and right now while you're in processing, do you need to be by yourself, or do you want to be with other people right now? And that's a different question we might ask somebody in that aspect, because they might be, hey, no, I'm fine with everybody. Okay, we'll go ahead and put you over here. But the option is there because we don't want to send them into further crisis if we can prevent it.
Right.
So, and that's also depends on the circumstance as well. So, or what is presented from the individual when they come in the facility. So,
okay.
So, but yes, it can be requested.
All right. Let's see. What else? I have a question for all three of you folks. What words of hope can you share with us about those who are living with mental illness?
They're passing the buck.
Go ahead, Deputy Posh.
Well, I would say
he's currently hopeless.
Not true.
There's so many options out there. It's a little hard to find them sometimes, but there are so many options out there. So you can get better. You can learn to manage. You can learn to cope with anything that you got going on. there's so many people out there that are willing to help. So just have to always look on the bright side. I know there's going to be times where it's going to be very hard, but there is a better side. We do have options now.
Okay, and that's a key point that you said you can manage. Recovery is not a destination; it's a process. So recovery means, for me at least, that I am managing. I am actually making it work. So, Officer or Deputy Narvais, I did it again. What words of hope do you have?
Right now, we're training our officers to all the best practices that are available through mental health professionals, law enforcement professionals. We're doing everything we can to do things right, if you will. So while we're trying to do that, we also want to let people know that the best thing they can do to help us is to be honest about their circumstance. Because even though we're talking about mental health and we want to give as much resource and assistance to people as we can, every now and then we still find people who manipulate the circumstance for a personal benefit. And that one incident could flavor the way we treat several other people. So if there is a mental health situation and you are in crises, the best thing you can do is be honest with the officer, and you'll get an honest, professional response from the officer as well.
Okay, that's excellent. And Deputy Greshem, what can you give us?
Talk to us. Let us know what's going on, because if you're able to do that, then we can help manage the situation, or maybe hopefully de-escalate the situation that's going on. So.
Okay. Well, with that, I'm going to say thank you for joining us for Our Own Voice on KSUN Community Radio. Thank you, Deputy Greshem, Deputy Narvais, and Deputy Posh. This is Our Own Voice, and please join us for our next Our Own Voice program.